right. Hi everybody, welcome to my live stream video where I'm going to be showing you how to change colored yarn in the middle of a row. I'm very excited about this and I'm so excited to have you here with me. So my name is Tiffany Hansen. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Welcome to this video. Literally what we're going to be talking about is the difference between two methods here. We're going to talk about stranding and we're going to talk about this word called Intarsia. And if you are completely new to these words, these terms, I can't blame you because I just learned I just learned about these words this year. I've been doing these methods for years on periodic projects, and I can see how they can be a bit intimidating, but they are actually really easy, and I'm going to try to show you as much as possible, as detailed as possible in this video, just how easy it can be. And once you know how to do this method, the Intarsia method or the stranding method, it is extremely empowering because all of a sudden all these new ideas for projects open up for you, and it's really exciting actually. So if at any point in this video you're liking what you're seeing or you're just enjoying the content, please push the thumb up button or the like button. I'd really appreciate it. It's like a big high five to me. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to my channel and click the bell. That way you get notified whenever I release any new videos. It just alerts you right away. So when you click the bell, also click all. That way, if I'm doing a giveaway video or a how-to video, tips and tricks video, or just come on YouTube to ask for your help, then you get notified and you get to see everything that I'm doing. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on any of my content. All right, so this is actually a joint tutorial. If you're also new to this, whenever I do a live tutorial, I start with content where I teach you something. And then at the end of the content section of this tutorial, I begin a live open discussion Q&A session where I bring you in. We're really just kind of hanging out together and you ask me questions and I answer. I mean, I'm here, I'm live with you right now, especially if you're able to join me live. Welcome everybody. I'm so excited to see you in the chat. I love you all so much for being here. I know it's hard. It's Friday, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, Texas time. So some of you on the other side of the world, it's like 2 a.m. and I'm like, wow, thank you so much for being here with me. Or you're at work right now, in which case, you know, I'm flattered, but at the same time, make sure you're focusing on your work too. So what I'm going to do with this tutorial is I'm going to start the tutorial focused on the actual tutorial itself. So I'm not going to be looking at the chat. So if you ask me a question or something's happening in the chat, I'm not paying attention to it while I'm doing the tutorial part because I want to respect anyone that comes to this video looking for the actual content. And then after the content, then I'll get into like, all right, I'm going back to the chat. I'm seeing who is asking me questions, who's engaging, and just welcoming all of you for joining me today. All right, so again, the tutorial I'm going over today is how to change colors in the middle of a row. So I have two examples that I'm going to be going over today. I'm actually kind of killing two birds with one stone in this tutorial. One, I'm showing you how to do the Intarsia and stranding method, but I'm also showing you how to, here, let me flip the screen over, how to make a tree and a pumpkin. So in this tutorial, we're really kind of doing two things. I'm teaching you the two methods, but I'm also going to be showing you how to make both of these inlays, which Intarsia method and stranding method, they're inlays kind of types crochet because you're crocheting it while you're actually crocheting the pattern. Okay, so it's in there, it's not on top. All right, so I think we'll just go ahead and get started with stranding. So stranding is a method where you're actually working both yarns at the same time. If I were to stretch this, you will see that the green color that I used for the tree is actually in the row. Okay? And I'm going to show you, see, it gets brought in. It's in every row. So I'm going to show you how this works right now. No, I'm not. See, this is the thing with, this is the thing when I go live is it's live, so I can't edit the video. If I want to back it up or make sure I say something, it's kind of like, oh wait. So I do want to mention something before we even dive into how to do the stranding method, okay? First things first is if you know you're going to be crocheting a project and you're going to want to add multiple colors in the same row, okay? First thing you want to pay attention to is your materials. So I have two examples right here. They're the same exact color. They're both a size 4 weight yarn, okay? So we're like, why couldn't we use them together? And in this case, they're the same color. In another case, it would be a different color. So actually, I'm gonna take you with me. Okay, hold on. Okay, we're going this way. Okay, so I'm gonna grab this color. And then place you down. Okay, so if I were doing an Intarsia piece where I wanted to crochet a shape into my project, right? And I'm using these two yarns. They're completely different brands. Make sure. There we go. And there we go. Okay, they're different brands, but they're both the same size yarn. They're both the size 4 weight yarn. Okay, and they're different brands, but same exact size. So you would think, okay, they're the same size yarn, they should work together. But if you notice, the Simply Soft yarn is shiny. It's got a sheen to it, opposed to this other yarn that does not. And I guess this is a better example right there, where the blue one is shinier than the cream one. So when you are working your project, you want to make sure that the yarn you are using is the same texture or the same shine or shade, so that way when you're working the piece together, it doesn't look too weird unless you're doing it intentionally. For example, if you want to crochet a heart into the middle of your project, but you want the heart to have like sparkly yarn so it really pops, then you can do that, but you have intention, right? So if you don't have intention for the piece to look extremely different, try to keep the yarn fibers at least the same, if that makes any sense. Also, yes, make sure that the size of the yarn is the same too, because that can really mess with you if you are working a size 4 weight yarn throughout the entire project, and then you come to the inlay or the image that you are trying to change color with, and the size yarn for the inlay is a size 3, 2, 5, 6, then it's going to completely warp the whole blanket. It'll either be tighter in that section or bulkier in that section, and it'll really mess with things. So you want to make sure that the yarn that you are using is the consistent size to really help you out, okay? So before we even got started, I wanted to mention those tips because it happens and I want to avoid that frustration for you, okay? Another thing is there are the two methods, right? So the stranding and the intarsia method. Before you even start the work, depending on if it's a blanket or a beanie or a garment, something that you're going to be wearing, it is smart for you to practice with those two pieces or the two yarns that you're working with, making a small swatch version of it. That way you can see if it works together. It would really suck if you got all the way to a certain point in a project and you go to add the new yarn or you go to try the new method and you're like, this doesn't look good at all. And then you've wasted all of this precious time. And we all know that when we're working on crochet projects, time is very valuable. So yeah, working a small swatch version, if you're doing the stranding, making a small stranding swatch. If you're doing the intarsia, making a small intarsia swatch. If you don't know what I'm talking about, that's okay. Just know ahead right now that you're going to want to do that. Okay. All right. Now we can dive into the stranding method. I'm ready. Are you ready? Here we go. Okay. So moving these things aside. Okay, so when it comes to the stranding method, we're going to make the Christmas tree. Stranding, there we go. So I am going to be using this green color, and I am going to be using this brown color. They're both a size 4 weighted yarn. And after this video goes live, I will have a second to put the pattern and everything into the description section below this video. I haven't gotten to that yet, but it's coming, I promise. Okay, so we're making this guy. Put that right there. Okay, so when it comes to the stranding method, we're going to, actually here, I got this. Is it going to show up? Okay. Whenever we're working with an inlay, you're usually going to see a picture that looks like this square. Okay? The square is super helpful because each individual square is an individual stitch. So, if you look closely, let me see, can I blow it up? No. Oh, no. Nope. Okay. I'll make sure that it is bigger for you. But if you can see in this image right here, on the very bottom where it says row 1, there should be a total of 14 little squares right there. So I'm going to start with a tail long enough for me to weave in my ends at the end of the project. Move that stranding so there's more room here in the image. Create my slip knot, attach a crochet hook. Now because in this image, there's row 1 right there, it says there's 14 squares, so 14 stitches. That's going to be the number of chains in my foundation row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. All of my stitches in this project are single crochet stitches. I'm going to chain 1 to get to the next row, and then I'm going to bring in my next color. So I'm going to bring in my green. And this is just for the stranding method. When we attach the new color, we're going to give ourselves enough of a tail for us to weave in our ends at the end of the project. We're going to just lay it here at on top of the foundation row. So looking at our V-stitches, we want to just lay the new yarn on top, and we're going to crochet over it, okay? This is going to look a little weird. It is a little weird when you first try it out. So if you're feeling it and you're like, this is just too awkward for me, it is awkward at first. And that's okay. Once you practice it over and over, it gets a lot easier, I promise you. Okay, so skipping the first V-stitch, because that's our turning chain, working into our next stitch here. So I'm going to actually lift it up so I can see my stitches. V-stitch, and I'm going to crochet over it. 1 single crochet. And then make 1 single crochet stitch over the yarn, the second color, across row 1. So just 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet. Now right now we can see it, but as we work, that green color is going to start to disappear. This is the other thing about working a live tutorial is you get to see me finish the row. So I try to make the work smaller so I can get through it faster. But I guess it also gives you a longer example of what I'm actually doing. Okay. And I'm keeping the picture up so you can really see what I'm doing. Okay, last chain here. Here we go. Okay, so we've just finished row 1. Now let's move on to row 2. So for row 2, if you look at the image, because you can really work this whole thing off of the image alone. So row 2, I will be coming in, let's see, there's my hand. I'll be coming in from this side, that way. All right, so if you look at the image, there we go. Okay, there's how many? 1, 2, 3. There's 2. Yeah, there's 2. There's 1, 2 squares right there. So I'm going to get on to my next row, chain 1, turn my work, and I'm going to take that green color and I'm going to just continue having it lay on top of my stitches. Okay, so finding the first stitch, 1, second stitch, 2, and now you're going to see that I change colors. In the next square space, it shows that I change it to green, right? Well, watch this. I pick up the green color, I switch it with the tan color, so they flip-flopped. I'm going to insert my crochet hook into the next stitch space, grab the green color, pull the green color through, and then I'm going to yarn over and I'm going to pull through, but watch this. When I come over, wait a second, why is that brown color invading my green space? You'll see this a lot. In a lot of inlays, you'll see where the other color came into the stitch and it looks weird. And it's like, wait a second, I don't like that. That's not a clean color switch over. How can we fix that? So if I go backwards, take my green stitch out. See, this is the loop that fed over into the green, invaded my green stitch. Let's go ahead and take that green loop out. So I'm left right here with the 2 loops on my crochet hook. Let's go ahead and finish this single crochet stitch with the new color that will be the next stitch. So I'm going to grab my green color this time, finish that single crochet stitch, then I'm going to lay the brown down, insert my crochet hook into the next stitch space, grab the green, pull the green through. Again, I'm crocheting over the brown now, yarn over, pull through, and look at that. It's now a clean green stitch. Okay? And that is how you create a very clean color change. So let me do that again for you. So we are, got the green down, inserting crochet hook, yarning over, pulling through the brown, but then I know the next stitch is going to be green, so here I'm going to flip-flop my yarns so the brown lays down. I'm going to grab the green and pull the green through to finish off that single crochet stitch, and now the green color is ready to start the new color. I hope that works out. I'm going to be doing the same color change over and over, and I'll try to go slow through because that is the weirdest part for some people. Okay, so I'm going to be making 1 green single crochet stitch all the way across, and I'm going to finish the last 2 with brown. So crocheting over the brown now. Okay. And it's just a single crochet stitch, so once you get the whole crocheting over that other yarn strand, it moves pretty fast. Okay, so we are on to the last two stitch spaces here. Those last two stitch spaces will be the brown beige tan color. So I'm going to actually back it up, pull that out, so I'm back to just having 2 loops on my crochet hook. I'm going to flip-flop my yarn colors. I'm going to pull through the brown. That way it's a clean color change, and now my brown is going to go just like that. Cool. Okay, so at the end of the row, because we're just working, oh look at that, just working single crochet stitches, chain 1, turn our work, and then again bringing up the second color. There we go. And then we're going to crochet over that second color. So looking at my image, so next row shows 1, 2, 3 squares of brown. So I will go 1, 2, 3. Then I know I'm going to color change to green, so I'm going to flip-flop my yarn over, pull through, and you can always grab the yarn before to pull that stitch tighter. That way it's not too loose. And then I have the green now on top, crocheting over the brown. And looking at the image, the boxes, so I will be making 1 green stitch, single crochet stitch, all the way across, leaving 3 stitch spaces for that brown color. Okay, and that is how we work the stranding method. Is we carry the yarn, we carry that strand with us across the row. Now, working a blanket or a project where there are multiple colors, not just 2, this is going to be a more difficult method to utilize because you're going to be carrying so many different colors that your rows are going to be huge and will most likely show all the colors through because you have so much going on. Here you can see the green. If I pull this apart, it does really hide that green strand. Like if you really look, you can see it. But it really does a good job of hiding that green strand that we had to carry across. But if you have a bunch of colors, it's going to be harder and harder to hide that. All right, so for the sake of getting through this live video, I'm going to go ahead and stop the stranding method right now. I'll probably make another tutorial where I walk you through this entire section, though I think honestly that you can get it. I'm going to go ahead and still post the picture down below after this video, so that way, because I don't have it there yet, but so that way you can work on this ahead of time, and then I'll post a really quick little video on getting through this entire section in another tutorial for you. Okay, so that's stranding. Carrying the yarn through your rows. Okay, let's move this, and we will move on to Intarsia. What is the difference? Okay, and move you. Okay, so Intarsia, there's actually 2 different ways to do Intarsia. And Intarsia, you're going to be just bringing in the yarn where you need it. So you can end up with pieces of work that either look like this, flat on the side, this, or it'll look like this, because we drop the yarn with each color change and pick it up again, but when you weave in all these ends, it's clean on both sides. And there's no yarn in between carried through like there was in the stranding. So let me show you how this works. Got my orange, got this color here. Okay. New picture. All right, so pumpkin. Again, when working the inlays, you're going to see a lot of these pictures with the squares. And again, each square represents a stitch. In this case, it's a single crochet stitch. So starting with the tail long enough for us to weave in our ends. Here we go. And before I begin this, I want to address everybody that is here with me. Welcome, everybody. I'm so excited to have you here. If you are new to my lives, just remember that I begin these live tutorials just going over the tutorial part, and I don't address the chat because I want to focus right here. And as soon as I'm done with the tutorial part, I will go over to the chat. We will have our Q&A session where we get to spend time together. I answer questions and we really hang out. So if you are asking me any questions, I promise you I'm not ignoring you. I'm just waiting to finish this tutorial, get through this tutorial, and then we will be able to hang out. All right, so in this picture, row 1, there should be 14 little squares across the bottom here. So I'm going to chain 14. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. Great. So the foundation row does not count as row 1. But it at least gives us an idea of how many stitches are supposed to be in row 1. So we will then chain 1 for our turning chain, which will give us 15 chains. Now looking at row 1 and even row 2, we're sticking to the same color. It's just 1 single crochet stitch in each stitch all the way across. So skipping the first V-stitch, single crocheting in the second. Let me get through row 1 and row 2 so that way I can get to that orange color change for you. Sorry, I didn't have this ready ahead of time, but I wanted to explain to you how you would work a pattern that is just given to you in an image like that. Okay. I'm really excited. There are some fun projects that I really am excited to share with you that involve inlays. And with this tutorial, hopefully it's really easy to understand. I can do those inlays like the heart shapes for Valentine's Day, or like some other fun projects for Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, any holidays, or even letters, so you can make words. Super fun, super exciting. And you can really design your own inlays. You just need graph paper, grid paper from the store, super cheap. And remember, each square counts as its own individual stitch, and go with it, create. It's so awesome. All right, so chaining 1. Turning our work. Okay, so now we're in row 3 here. I show that we go in, it's hard for me to see this image. Ugh. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. Okay, so we go in 5 stitches. That's how many tan boxes are on the side of row 3 before we hit the orange. So 1, 2, 3, 4, I got 5. All right, and then we're about to color change to the orange. So I'm going to grab my orange color. Now the thing with Intarsia is you bring the color to the work when you need it. It's not already integrated into the project. So we're going to start with the tail long enough for us to weave in our ends. Create our slip knot right there. Now again, if I were to add this color right now, I'm going to have that tan or off-white color coming into the next stitch. It's not going to be a clean transition. So I'm going to back it up to where I have just the 2 loops on my hook. And then I'm going to pick up the loop, that I just made, that slip knot. I'm going to go ahead and tighten it a little bit, leaving it a little bit loose, so just like that. And then I'm going to pull that to finish the single crochet stitch. And then if you want, you can take the cream color or that beginning color. Watch what happens when I pull that. It shrinks the stitch, and then this shrinks the stitch. Great. Leave the tail floating behind. You can leave the next color floating behind. We're going to start, I'm going to show you, where is it? Intarsia version 1, where we are working it like this, okay? So we're going to leave color 2 floating behind the work, and we're going to work, so looking at the picture, the image, it shows 1, 2, 3, 4 orange stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4. Next stitch is going to be the next color, so I'm going to just drop the orange color. I'm going to come back and pick up the white color, or the desired color. Don't pull too tight, but go ahead and finish the stitch. I'm going to pull the orange to make that stitch tighter. You want this string to be looser on the back, so, because watch what happens if I made it a tight stitch. If I work my stitches really tight and I pull, if I'm working my stitches really tight, it can buckle your work. And then when you would work, you'd end up with this weird buckling. Okay, we don't want to do that. So when we grab our new color that is just sitting on the back of the work, we want to be loose with everything. Okay, so loose. Finish the stitch. Make sure the work is flush, it's flat. Even work the next stitch over. And then come back and say, oh, the orange one is a little loose, so I'm going to take the orange color, pull it, and it tightens it up. I'm going to come back, I'm going to look at that yarn that is laying on the back, and I'm going to see, okay, it's good, it's not too loose, but it's also not too tight because my work is able to lay flat. And then you just continue on, la la la. And chain 1 and turn our work. Now the one thing that can happen with this is there can be some tangling that occurs, especially if you have a lot of colors going on. So some ways you can manipulate or work with the whole tangling is you can either have like sections of the color you're wanting to work with, like smaller balls that you can just keep in a ball form, and once you're done working that color, you can grab a rubber band and then keep that into a ball shape, so that way you have like these balls of yarn dangling under on the back side of your work. Or you can just, whenever you are turning your rows, just move your skeins so that way they're not tangled amongst each other. Okay, looking at our image, what are we doing? What are we doing? So it looks like with this row, we're going to make 3 single crochet stitches before we change to the orange. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna change to my orange color, but in this time I don't want to drop my yarn in the back of the work. I want all of my yarn overs to stay on this side. So I'm going to take my yarn, I'm going to bring it forward and pinch it. That way I can leave this side of the work flush, no, here's my example. I want to keep everything on this side. That way this side looks clean, okay? So I bring my yarn forward like this, pick up my new color, and then I'm going to finish that single crochet stitch. Keep it loose because I actually almost caught myself there. If I would have gone and tried to make it a tight stitch, it just pinched everything over. It squeezed everything, and all these stitches that were in between buckled, okay? So in this example, you want everything to be loose. Loose at first, so super loose stitches here, and then go to your next stitch, make your next stitch, actually, back that up. Before I do my next stitch, right here, once I've completed the stitch, then go ahead and tighten everything to make that stitch not super loose, but also you can gauge the tightness. And then I'm going to make the orange, orange, orange all the way across. Orange, 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 leaving the same number, so 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, ready for my color change. Loosely bring this yarn over, single crochet, bring that orange color to the back, keeping all the loose strands on the same side, and then continuing with color A for the first color, the color desired. All right, and this will create this look here. Chaining 1, turning my work, looking at my strands, moving things so they don't tangle upon each other, and then this is what it looks like on the other side. Now the difference between Intarsia and Stranding really is you don't have the other color mixed into the row like the other one where we carried the color across. We're bringing in colors where we need them, so this is great if you're utilizing many different colors, such as the top of my pumpkin here. You'll see where I bring in a green color here at the top. But see, 1, 2, so looking at this row here, changing colors in the 3rd stitch. You may find yourself backing up your stitches often. I do, it's not a big deal. Okay, finishing that off, and again, we want all the strands to fall on that side of the work, and then continue on. And what you can do, if you're not a big fan of all of these strands just loosely hanging back here, you're worried they're going to get caught on something, is when you're working the next row, you can pick one up or just crochet over it a little bit, kind of like the stranding, and maybe just a spot or two, but not all the way across. That way you're not getting the full stranding look. And then you've picked it up on the back, so it's not fully floppy if you're worried about that piece. You can pick that up. Okay, so this is how it looked. Intarsia, this is Intarsia. Okay, again, I'm going to be loose so my work does not buckle. And after I finish that stitch, I'm going to tighten it. There we go. Make sure it's laying flat. Okay, and then move on. Cool. All right, so this is Intarsia version 1, where it has the lines working in the back like this, which you may have seen this. This may look very familiar to you, where you're like, oh, I've seen work where they did that before. This is Intarsia, okay? Now, I am not a fan of all these strands. It is just, I get caught up with this part, and I end up working my stitches tight often, and then I do have a common problem with my work, having spots where it buckles. It's just how I crochet. It's one of my things. So I like, and bear with me because I like Intarsia. I like being able to pick yarn up where I need it, but I end up with work like this. And you might look at that and be like, Tiffany, that is a mess. What are you thinking right now? Well, what I do is I will take all my strings, I'll weave them all in, and yes, it's a lot of work, but if you want to do this kind of thing, you're going to have to put in a little bit of work. But when I'm done weaving in all the ends, then it looks like this on both sides. It's clean on both sides. There's no yarn that got intermixed in any of the rows, and I think it looks really clean. So yes, I'm left with this, but when you're done, it looks like this. And I think that looks really good. So let me show you how I do what I do. So I'm backing all this up here. There we go. Okay, so let's say I just color changed for the first time. And this one, looking at the image, it was 4. There's 4 there. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm about to switch colors back over here. What I will do is I'm actually going to grab my scissors. And I cut myself a long enough tail for me to be able to weave in my ends. And I cut the yarn there. And then I reattach, starting with the tail long enough for me to weave in my ends. I will reattach the yarn. There we go. Finish that stitch. Go ahead and tighten it where I need to. There we go. And then I will continue on. All right, and that is how I will do it. I don't carry the yarn over. I just cut it long enough for there to be tails. Now, yes, it will mean that I'm using more yarn for my project. Oops. How many is it here? 3. Oh, I made 1, 2, 3. Okay. There we go. And again, I'm not going to lift and carry my yarn over because I have that problem where it buckles. I just crochet tight. So I cut tail long enough for me to weave in my ends. And then I create my new strand. There we go. Attach new color. Bring it in. And in this case, I don't care if my tails are on one side of the work or the other, because I know in the end I'm going to be weaving them in anyway. So I don't have to worry about this happening where I had to make sure that my yarn was on one side of the work because I want all of the strands on one side. I can have my tails be on both one side and tails on the other, because I know I'm going to weave them all in to look like this. Okay, so here we go. And crochet. And again, with this pumpkin, I will include the picture in the description section below. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So I'm not going to finish the pumpkin for you in this tutorial, because in this tutorial I really wanted to at least get through the difference between intarsia and stranding and show you how to change colors in the middle of a row. But I will do quick little mini tutorials for the tree and the pumpkin for you in another tutorial where I complete it if you need it. But hopefully the picture, I show you how to work the picture easy enough where you're like, oh, I got this. But it's okay if you don't. Perfect. All right, and then again, I would just cut that so it's ready for me. And this also prevents a lot of the winding and twisting. If you're getting rid of the yarn right away, you're not having all these skeins of yarn twisting on each other, twisting, or needing these balls of yarn hanging on the back of the work that you need to worry about wrapping a rubber band on and keeping it together. It's easier to work with what you got here. So the only downside to working it this way is there's a lot of ends to weave in. But for me, it's worth it. For you, if you don't think it's worth it, I totally get it. But that's it. That is what I got for you guys. That is the 3 different methods, or that is at least the 2 methods, the stranding method and the intarsia method, on how to change color in the middle of the row. And it's really cool, and I hope I explained it well enough, and I hope that I went slow enough and showed you detail enough on even like the switchover, the color switchover, because I think that is the trickiest part, is knowing when to bring in that new color loop, right? So it takes a little bit of practice. It feels weird, it does at first, but if you are really committed to trying an image or a word in your work, which is really cool, it helps with personalizing and making things extra, that spark that I talk about all the time. Creating something that will have that spark for somebody where they're like, I love this so much because it connects with something that I love. This is the easiest way to do it. It really is. And yeah, the 2 different methods with intarsia, and that is if you're going to weave in all of your ends, or if you want to just have it all look like that. So there's options. There are. Well, that is it. That is how you can change colors in the middle of a row. That is the stranding method, the intarsia method. Now I am ready for your Q&A session and hanging out with you and getting to some of your questions. On Monday, I did a live where I reached out to you all, and I was talking about this holiday season, October, November, December, my content calendar, really wanting to get from you what you want to see, what projects you want to focus on, because there are so many projects that I have on my list of things that I want to do that I needed help wheedling things down to get to what I have time for, because like I mentioned before, I release at least 1 video a week. When it comes to October, November, and December, I'm going to try to release more, because I want to have a big push. I really want to be there for you. So I'm going to be working extra hard for you October, November, December. Even now I am prepping and planning and getting things ready. But there's so much that I want to make. I love the holidays. I love the holidays, and there's so much to create, so much to make, and especially with giving gifts, how it fills our heart, and how people really react to receiving crocheted items. It's different. People really get heartfelt, attached, like just the emotion behind something that was handmade is so great. It really is. So I want to make sure that I try to provide as many different things as I can for you. So I do want to share with you, how do I want to do this? Actually, I can keep my camera out here. Move all that stuff out of the way. I'm going to share with you the top. I went through, oh my gosh, you guys. I'm going to show you. Okay. So, these are overall the major list that I came up with. These were the top categories of things that people wanted to make. The tallies. I'm going to show you the tallies here in a second. But I'm going to start working on the Campfire cardigan today. It's going to take me a second, but I want to make sure I give you enough time. I want to release the tutorial with enough time for you to make that. I'm going to find a tree skirt and I'm going to make it my own. I'm going to manipulate it because I know I had a couple people say that they've looked at tree skirt tutorials or patterns before and they seem a bit outdated. So I'm going to do some research. I'm going to make sure I have the shape right and everything, and then I'm going to kind of create my own because I like to do that. A stocking, I'm going to show you how to make one version of a stocking. Some ornaments, which will be fun. There'll be some intermittent tutorials that I'll have placed sporadically because I want to make sure that they're going to be fast, easy ones. Fingers crossed here. Fingerless gloves, beanies, scarves, sweater or cardigan or a women's top. There's a lot of people saying a lot of different interpretations of this basically. And I already have the one that I'm working on, so I'm at least going to get that one out. Scarves, the shawls, all the tutorials that I mentioned before in my video on Monday, I'm going to push out. Snowflake washcloth. Bowls were surprising to me. People wanting crocheted bowls. I was definitely intrigued by the bowl because I researched this last year and there didn't seem to be enough interest, but when I reached out to you specifically, there was a lot of interest in there. So let me go ahead and show you the long list of all the tallies. Where does it start here? Here. So these are some examples in tallies of all the different things, and I went through at least 100 comments, and I think there were 200 something comments on here, and even more, like all these different tutorial requests, which I thought were awesome. You guys were great. I mean, you definitely gave me some fun ideas. So if you wrote down an idea, if you posted an idea on Monday's live video, and remember, you can go back and watch it even today. It's still up there. But if you posted on there something that you wanted to create, and even if nobody else wanted to create it, it's going to go on my list because I'm sure that you're not the only one that wants to create something. Like one person, a really cool idea was making a beanie with a slit in it for someone to wear a baseball cap so they can still wear like the beanie over their baseball cap. And I was like, that's really cool, but it seems like something that not everyone's going to even think of. So that went on my list. But another thing I got, I'm going to carry you around with me. So on Monday's tutorial, I mentioned the Campfire cardigan, and I showed, gosh, you're just along the ride with me, okay? Okay. I mentioned this yarn that I'm going to be using for it. I'm so excited. It's beautiful. So here's what it is. It's Red Heart, Unforgettable. Here, I'm going to show you this, and then I'm going to just tell you. It's a little blurry. I'm just going to tell you because it's blurry. It's in the color Polo. Polo. There are, it is a size 4 weight yarn. Worsted medium, Aran, 10, 12 ply, or 8 WPI. So depending on where you live in the world, if you cannot get your hands on Red Heart, Unforgettable, just work with that sized yarn. And it does match the size yarn in the pattern because I found a pattern on Pinterest. So if you want to beat me to the punch and make this before I even do, or you want to get started on it, the Campfire cardigan, search it up on Pinterest, and I found the pattern. It was in a 3-part section. I'm going to give her all the credit because you give credit where credit's due. I'm showing you how to make it. It's a free pattern. There's a lot of ads in it, and there's the ability to purchase an ad-free version, which I will highly recommend. There's a lot to get through, and it'd be a lot cleaner just to purchase the ad-free version, seriously. But there, in this skein, there's 270 yards, or 246 meters, or 3.5 ounces, or 100 grams of yarn. And I am going to be using, she recommended in the pattern, using a size 8mm crochet hook or an L, which I did not have in my normal stash. I ended up having to find it in, I have some wood crochet hooks. And that was an 8mm. Can you even see that? It's so tiny. 8mm. So yes, there you go. Materials that I'm going to be working with the Campfire cardigan, because I know some people were like, I want to know the materials list. Now you have the list too of what I'm going to be focusing on. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 tutorials here alone. That's 2 months and 2 weeks, two and a half months worth of materials just right here. And that's not even including some of the tutorials that I had mentioned in Monday's tutorial. So I am going to do the best that I can to get through these. I'm going to, the ones I'm really going to focus on, the big ones that I need to get started on right away are the Campfire cardigan, the tree skirt, and the stocking stuffers, and the sweater. I'm going to work on punching, like getting those started now. That way I can get a pattern created, worked up, and know what I'm doing before I show you how to do it. That's always good, right? But yeah, so that is what I'm going to be focusing on. If I don't get through it, just know it's on the list, and I will get to it next year. There's always next year, the year after that. There's so many things that I want to make, and there's so much I want to do, and time is the thing that's against me here. Was there... Okay, another thing. Oh, okay. So I did get a lot of people asking me, like, Tiffany, can you tell us what materials you're going to be using before the tutorial? That way I can have all of the materials purchased and ready to go. That way when your tutorial comes out, I can just join in with you and work on the project with you. And I decided that I am going to start releasing materials on Monday, Tuesday, the beginning of the week, on my social media. So join me on my Instagram, Facebook, even Twitter. I wonder, can I do it on Twitter? We'll see. I'll make it work on Twitter too if you're a Twitterer. So I'm going to go ahead and usually I will go week by week on what I'm figuring out. I'm going to try to be better with that. With all of the tutorials going on, it's going to be craziness. It really will be, but I will do my best to post what materials I'm going to be using for a upcoming tutorial on my social media, because that seems to be the easiest place. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense for me to like post. Maybe, I mean, there are spots on YouTube now where I can post a picture. Maybe I can do like materials list for this Friday's tutorial. I'll play with it. I'm gonna try to work with you guys and make it work, make it easier, because I know some of you want that. And then yes. Oh, I had somebody ask me a question on. Oops. Somebody asked me a question on Instagram the other day. Because I went on Instagram and I asked people, like, hey, do you have any questions? And I think that was the big one, is somebody just mentioned, Samantha, I know you asked me a question and I don't know where it is. Samantha, if you're on the chat, ask me again. Okay, so back you up. Grab my computer here. Oh, welcome. My husband's on the chat. He's saying hi. Yes, I know. So after this, we have plans. He has the day off today. So he's like, Tiffany, hurry up. All right. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. Again, thank you so much for joining me today and being a part of my live. I really love hanging out with you and doing this together. It's so cool. It's so cool to be able to be like here with you. I'm engaged with you right now. Happy Friday. Yes, happy Friday. It's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day. Glad to catch you live. Messenger, especially. Tabitha, yes. So again, with my social media, I really try the more I grow, the more I try. But if I can't get to you, keep trying to get a hold of me. There's a lot of questions and a lot of people asking me for things, and of course I want to do it all. I want to do it all, but I'm only one person. At least there's a lot of time. I am not at all worried about what to make. All right. I am wearing some of your merchandise right now. Hey, did you get my shirt? That I got for my, So if you are unaware, on YouTube, I do have like a merchandise section right underneath my videos. It's all Crochet with Tiffany Hansen stuff. I bought a new logo, and I'm hoping to get some really cute shirts out soon. Some cute merchandise, because that's just so much fun. Samantha, happy late birthday. Happy late birthday. Let's see if you have any questions for me. Hello, Tiffany. I have trouble changing colors. I have been crocheting since I was 7 years old. All right, Susan, I hope that this tutorial was helpful for you, and how I change colors in the middle of a row. If it's still challenging for you, feel free to hit up one of my social medias, ask me a question there, or even email me, CrochetwithTiffanyHansen@gmail.com. But hopefully this tutorial is helpful for you. Ooh, a baby blanket with a spade's edge. Love it. I'm having trouble with changing colors in knitting and crocheting. I think that this method, both Stranding and Intarsia, apply to both knitting and crocheting. So what I just showed you today applies also to knitting. With stranding, you know, bringing the second color into the row with you, and even Intarsia, where you're picking up the colors as you go. I usually make the inlays separately. How do you make it in a way by stranding method, or like putting a name embroidered? So yeah, your question hopefully was answered today, Susan, in how you would inlay a word, a letter, a picture, all of that. On a hat. So on a hat, it's done the exact same way. Another way that could be really cool, really easy to do inlays on a hat is if you make your hat in a rectangle shape, and then you join the edges. What's the word? You, oh my gosh, weave in the top and pull it tight. I'm totally drawing a blank. Drawstring it on the top so it closes it up on the top, but then you have, it was a really easy way for you to do your inlay. Put a pom-pom on the top so that way you cover up anything, any large hole or anything on the top. I love your engagement, how you guys talk to each other in the chat. It is so cool. The community is so beautiful. Oh, cool. Heather's Crochet Pleasures. You're teaching your friend how to crochet right now? Well, I hope your friend has a really good experience and they catch on. Crocheting is just, it's so much to me. It's how I relax. It's how I get my creativity out. It's how I connect with people. It's how I show love. It's so much. Is this pattern big enough for a pot holder? No. Not the one that I used in the example today, but if you made 4 of them and put it into a larger square, then yes. Found paw print granny squares by Crafty Kitty Crochet. Having trouble with last round in square. It's the square itself. What do you think I'm doing wrong? It's really, really hard for me to answer that question without being able to see it. It's even harder when I'm not there with you. But what I would do, Life in Janie's Crochet World. If you can email me more, maybe a picture, give me a little bit more detail about what's going on, I can help a little bit more. Right now, I don't know what the problem is to know how to answer that, but I would love to try to help. Oh, I'm so glad that I was able to show you something new. This is so much fun. Can I substitute with a different weight to do this pattern? Absolutely. Yes, Samantha, you can use this pattern for any size yarn. Just know if you're going to be using a smaller size yarn, then your inlay, your little square section is going to be smaller. If you're using a bigger yarn, it's going to be a little bit bigger. But other than that, yeah, you can use whatever size yarn to do this. That's another cool thing about inlays. You can really, the picture just shows you what stitch to change color, so you can use whatever size you want. Have you ever worked with Crafter's Secret Big Ideas from Hobby Lobby? Crafter's Secret Big Idea. It doesn't ring a bell, so I don't think so. I haven't, so I'm sorry I can't give you any opinions or anything, but let me know what you're trying to do with it. Good morning, all of you Australia people. Did my crochet Christmas gifts in May all done? Okay, thank you. I think you should post it on social media. Okay. Thank you for all of your tutorials. After 20 years of crocheting off and on, my work looks so good. You should, how do you do patterns that any level, or you should, how to do a pattern that any level of crochet. I try to do that. I try to be all over the place with people that are intermediate or people that are beginners, and I end up grouping. I end up doing a lot of tutorials for beginners, like in a group, and then realizing, oh man, I'm not helping out anybody, any of my intermediate people, and then I do a bunch of intermediate level, and I'm like, oh crap, I have all these beginners that are like, Tiffany, what are you doing? So I try to intermix it. Check out my whole videos list for a great option, a great mix of things. The Intarsia with all the cut yarns. Yes, I know, Jody, the Intarsia with all the cut yarns, it's a mess, but for me, it ends up being the best option. It makes both sides clean, and I don't have to worry about yarn tangling. So, all right, guys, that is it. I've reached the bottom of the chat. I am so excited to have been able to spend time with you. I'm excited that I was able to show you Stranding and Intarsia, and now you know about those methods, and you know all about how to crochet a picture or even a word, a letter, inside your whole project. So now you have so many different options. There's so many cool things that you can make. And when I start making other certain projects involving inlays here in the future, it'll be a lot easier for me to just say, if you don't know how to do this method, check out this video. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I love you all. Thank you for spending time with me. Thank you for crocheting with me. I hope you have the best day, guys, and I will see you with my next video coming very soon. All right, bye, guys.